you have to do your homework. You got to make sure you've done everything, you've researched, either you have a product or you're selling a service, and then you have to embrace that risk and jump into it. And then finally, and I think this is probably maybe the most important, is you have to have patience.
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and the wisdom of how they sold their first million.
How would you like to make your first million? And today we have an author with us. His name is Mark, and he has wrote 2 books, Reset and I'm a Genius, Just Ask Me. So Mark, tell us straight away, what are the 5 steps to make the first million?
Wow, that's a great question, Harry. I think I have 5 things, and these aren't like go out and find money kind of things, but I think this is really more of a mindset. And I think the first thing is you have to have no fear, and you got to be willing to make mistakes. My background is accounting. I was the controller of small businesses primarily. I did do a stint as the U.S. payroll manager for Nike for 4 years, which gave
Wow.
me big business experience. But I've dealt with many owners and entrepreneurs, and you have to be fearless. If you have any doubts, you are not going to do well. So that's my first thing. The second thing, it kind of coincides with have no fear, is you really have to believe in yourself. There's going to be a lot of naysayers out there. They're going to say you're crazy, you shouldn't be doing this. It's easy to put people down that are ambitious. And I think if you really believe in yourself and have confidence in yourself, you will do well. My third thing is you need to be willing to embrace risk. A risk can be a variety of things, but when you become an entrepreneur and own your own business, you're kind of putting it all on the line. And you have to go in with that mentality of you're in or you're out. You can't do it half-assed. And so you have to be willing, and hopefully, and this will lead to my next one, you have to do your homework. You got to make sure you've done everything, you've researched, either you have a product or you're selling a service, and then you have to embrace that risk and jump into it. And then finally, and I think this is probably maybe the most important, is you have to have patience. Nothing happens fast in this world, except if you're trading stocks and the stocks are going down. Other than that, everything is a process, and you have to be patient and let things work out. So those are my 5 tips on how to become a millionaire.
Fantastic. And now tell us, talking about this, right? About this story that you talk in your second book. So how come you become successful in the stock market, and you managed to make 2 million? So then what happened? Tell us.
Well, back in when I retired, I sent my money to a financial advisor. And I have an accounting background. When I worked, I was usually in charge of the 401k at work. So I worked very closely with our Charles Schwab representatives. I knew a lot about 401ks and that kind of stuff. So, anyways, I sent my money to the financial advisor, and my account was at 500,000, and she charged me like $10,000 that year, and we didn't even beat the S&P 500.
Oh,
And so
wow.
as an accounting guy, I'm like, well, what am I paying for? So I've always kind of traded my stocks, a small account, and then I did trade out of my 401k. And so I knew enough, Harry, to be dangerous. So I decided to move my money away from the financial advisor and to
Oh, that
trade
was
my own
very
account.
brave.
Very brave. And then this was really brave. And so I was looking for a strategy on how I was going to trade my account. And right now I'm 60, I'll be 68 years old next month. I started trading my own account after I retired at 62. And
Wow.
so I wound up reading a book called How to Make a Million Using Stock Options by a fella named Jeff Weber. And I read this book in early 2020, right before COVID hit.
Wow.
And so I read it like 6 times until I understood it. And he had Excel spreadsheets in his book. I put them on my computer. I went chapter by chapter and I traced exactly what he did so that I could understand it. But I wasn't overly familiar with options. So I called Jeff and I said, "Will you teach me your system?"
Wow.
And it was almost a joke, Harry. I think I paid him like $250 and
Was
set
not
up my
10,000, right?
no. So I started trading these leaps options, which are basically long-term options. They're usually 18 months to 2 years out. I started trading these in the beginning of March when COVID hit and the world shut down. And my account went from 550,000 to 425,000 in 2 weeks. I lost
Oh,
100 I lost $125,000 because I don't know if you remember the market dropped.
oh yeah, big time.
And this is like have no fear, believe in yourself, embrace risk, all the things that I talked about at the beginning of the show. And I really believe this, Harry. If there were 10 of us guys, excuse me, and we each started with 550,000, which was my account, would have lost 125,000 in 2 weeks. 8 of them would have quit
Okay,
immediately.
well,
One guy would have thought about quitting, and one guy would have stuck with it. And I was the one guy who stuck with it. And so my goal initially was just to have in total $1 million in my account. So basically I had to make 450,000. And my goal was to do that in 2 years. So I started trading these leaps in March of 2020. I hit the $1 million mark in August of 2020. And by the end of the year, my account went from 550 to 1.7 million.
wow.
I I crushed it. And then in the beginning of 2020, and we'll get into it a little bit more. At the beginning of 2021, my account went up from 1.7 to just over just, and then it collapsed.
Oh my God.
And I wound up I winning probably $700,000 of that money. And it was due, but some good things came out of it. And what came out of it was I own homes outright. I'm currently at our cabin in Oregon, and then my wife and I bought a casa in La Paz, Mexico.
Very good.
And, and we're about a block from the beach. We own it outright. We have no debt. So that
A
news of
good
the
thing you did, yeah?
And I was smart. I probably would have lost more, but when I was at 1.7, I took $1 million and I moved it and I didn't trade with that. So I was basically trading with 100,000 and I didn't think I could lose, Harry. It was just I was rocking and rolling. So anyways, so that was the reason for my book. I'm a genius. Just ask me. I'm a regular guy, Harry, and I read investment books. And most of the books you read, whoever the author is, he's got to make you money. And his thing works and my language, but 90% of that stuff is bullshit, Harry. Those you have to get your hands dirty and get in and figure it out. There's no hard plan. So that was the reason for my book was to try and relate to the common man and show them that it can be done, but you can also screw up as well. So that was the purpose of the book.
But then this is glad thank you so much for this story because I think it's amazing. I think our audience is gonna get a lot of value out of this because this has happened in large or small scale to all of us, right? And I think that that when a very good idea, yeah, or very good things when things go well, is to take that money and diversify. And real estate is an amazing vehicle for that, right? Like I think that I done it, right? I done it like I put some money in Bitcoin or whatever. It was like 1,000. I was coming high and high and high. I could took this money out and put it less and like, if I started with 1,000, yeah, and already I think it's 5,000, right? I'm already making 4,000. Why I'm not taking this 4,000 and leaving the first money that I started with, right? Why I'm not taking this money and I'm not invested, because that's the other thing as well. That people go and invest money in things that they don't know. My first business was in real estate. We managed to sell over 5 million. So I do understand the London real estate very well. We did it for 15 years. So if we're gonna have a property in London, we know even before buying everything that's gonna happen with the property, because we done it for so long that we know set with like our palm of our hand, right? And but again, it's all about and this is Mark, it happened to all of us. So what advice do you have there for regular people? Let's don't say traders, yeah, for regular people that did exactly like you did, took a strategy, embrace it, actually make it work, yes, but then there is this hit of mindset, and we all have it. Wow, if this went up, it's gonna go higher, and we never think that it can collapse. And since God, that is the stock change, because this Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, they go to zero in one day.
Yes.
Very volatile, and you lose everything. A lot of people have friends that lost so much. Half a million. I have a friend that lost $500,000 in one day with crypto. Yeah, because it went literally to zero. So what advice and how you have in your own mindset, because you haven't quit, you're still doing it. Yeah, you are.
I'm still doing it, only I have a lot less money to trade. Yes.
Now you have your lessons and you have your experience. So what advice do you have for people, for non-regular people there, that they are trading and they can embrace a strategy and actually it's working? They never think that the thing can go wrong, and actually and we can call it the risk. Diversify the risk. Don't throw your egg in your basket and so on.
Well, and that's a great question, Harry, and I've thought about this. And I think part of my problem, I was making so much money. I like a bad day.
You were so happy that you don't have time to think that you can lose it. Yeah.
A bad day for me was I only made $10,000 in that day. It was yummy. And I think, to answer your question, Harry, and I would have you think long and hard about this. I was a guy like most people who had a job. I have a family, bought a home, have a job, work, get my paycheck. And that was, to me, real money, because you provided a service and you got paid for it. I happen to be an accountant, and so my employer, I would do the accounting, they would pay me. When I was trading, it was like, and I'm almost embarrassed to say this as a financial guy, it was like it was not real money, because I didn't have to sweat to make it. I didn't have to do anything other than pick a stock and buy the options. So I traded it like was monopoly money. It just wasn't real to me. And even to this day, I know some guys, if they lost 700,000, they'd take their gun and blow their head out. Yeah. I never where I was like, or deeply depressed. Mm-hmm. I was grateful that I made so much money, and I bought my way out of debt. Like I said, I live in this beautiful cabin here in Oregon. Yeah. It's probably worth $500,000. I got no debt. My casa.
And it's the real, because it gave you your casa in Mexico, and this is the real thing.
Yes. And so, in that my account, I'm only trading like with $10,000 now, and I'm trying to build my account back up now. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
And so I real money to me now. And where there were weeks, there was one week I lost $200,000, and I just kept going, and it really shows how.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.